Hello, friends. This is Dr. Robert J. Parker of New Perception Consulting Service, here again with you with a very special guest, Debrah Chaplin. She's a grant specialist, and she was a very, very good speaker answering questions on the last segment on grants. And I'd like to let her introduce herself and welcome you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the show, and I hope I'll be able to answer the questions that you sent. My name is Debrah Chaplin. I am CEO of the Chaplin Group, and we're here to help you to see your dreams become a reality, help you to get those monies and those funds in to your organization that's going to help to see your goals and your missions become a reality.
Great, great. Thank you so much. I'd just like to say that there are programs out there that gives out billions. It's happening to millions of people, and it's happening to people each and every day. Regardless of who you are, rich or poor, young or old, there are government and private foundations that give money to people to help them with their lives or to help someone else. Again, I'm Dr. Robert J. Parker with another segment on grants. And what I'd like to do in this segment is to recap on the last grant program that we had to make sure that you got the information, that you're very versed on as far as receiving grants today. The first question that we had on last week is, what is a grant? And who wasn't eligible for one?
Okay, we talked about the difference between getting a grant and monies that you have to pay back. Basically, a grant is money that you never have to pay back. However, you must meet some goals and objectives and give the grantor what they need in order to meet their goals and objectives.
All right, we also, I asked her the question, has grants dried up today?
By no means. As a matter of fact, with all the things that have happened in our nation, grants have actually grown. There are grants for nonprofits. There are a lot of research grants for for-profits. There are grants for senior citizens. There are homeowners grants. There are grants for first-time home buyers. There are all types of grants that are out there. You just need to find the grant that fits your purpose and your needs and your goals.
Excellent, excellent. Now, how often are grants available or when they're announced?
Well, grants are announced all the time. There are new grants that come out every day. There's no particular one particular category that grants are in. Most of my clients utilize my service of locating grants for them. There are many places that give out grants. The government gives out grants at the state, the local, and the federal level. But there are also a lot of private foundations that award grants, and their award process is a lot of times an ongoing thing. Sometimes they have them quarterly. Sometimes they put out award notices monthly. But people use my service so that I can access all of those locations for them, access all those access points for them, and we locate those things that they need for their program.
Excellent, excellent. Now, grants, when they are rejected the first time or second time, is it a cause just to throw in the towel or give up?
By no means, especially if you're just starting out with trying to get a grant. A lot of times, the first application you set out, it may not pass. Getting grant ready is a long process sometimes. It's a detailed process. Just because you don't get the grant the first time, you may be able to take that same grant application and submit it to another foundation, another organization, and they will fund it. So just because you get turned down the first time is no indication of whether you have a good or bad proposal, because all proposals can be made better. Even with the same organization, you may get turned down for a particular foundation. Tweak that application, give them what they need, and I always encourage people, find out why they turned you down. Find out exactly what it was about your proposal that they didn't like, that they decided that they were not going to give you any money, and then fix it and resubmit it. 9 times out of 10, you'll get it the second time.
Great, great. Thank you so much. And the last question that we addressed on last week is, if you're over 65, divorced or disabled, where do a grant fit in for those type of people?
Well, I tell you what, if you're over 65, you're in a real good position because there are all kinds of grants out there for seniors. Grants for modifying your house, inside and out, grants for getting appliances, even grants to help you pay for medication. And there are pharmaceutical companies, they are very good at helping people to fill their prescriptions. And let's face it, medication is expensive in the United States. So there are many pharmaceutical companies that will actually give you grants in order to get your medication. There are organizations that will help seniors in repairing their home, making their home more accessible as you get older. Accessibility is a very, very important factor. There are grants for home improvement. There are all kinds of grants for that age group and folks with disability. That's also a very, very active area where there are a lot of grants that you can access. Our job is to help you to find them, and we can do that for you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for that. So hopefully that you can tune into the last broadcast, and these answers, she went in very good depth and gave you very good information concerning these questions on grants. So hopefully in your spare time, you can go on to Power Purpose Radio and go onto the site and get that information concerning grants. Now, we receive emails, we receive texts, and phone calls of people that's interested in grants. And what I have done, I've written down these questions out, and I told the person that called in to try to catch us if they all possible on this broadcast. If not, that doesn't mean that you lose out. All you have to do is go on to the YouTube channel and track us on Power Purpose Radio and look at the segments that's running 24 hours a day. So I'd like to address our grant specialist with this first question that came in. Can we talk to or give grant makers that is willing to speak to us personally?
You know, a lot of people think that it's hard to talk with grant makers, but actually grant makers want you to call them. Most of them will place that whenever they put out their RFPs or their requests for proposals, they will actually put in a number, an email. They will provide you technical assistance in helping you to get that grant proposal perfect so that it can be funded. They encourage you to come to talk to them. Let them help you to fill out your application. Let them give you that technical assistance that you need in order to make it a good proposal. So yes, they do encourage you to contact them, whether it be by email. A lot of times they will offer a workshop prior to the application due date. They will offer the workshop that will give you all kind of technical assistance. They will allow you to ask questions specific to your project, specific to your grant that you're writing. You can actually bring it with you. Any questions that you may have during that workshop, they encourage you to ask them, and they will help you. So never feel that you cannot contact a grant maker because they are willing to give you that kind of assistance, because your success is their success. When you write a grant, you're writing that grant to help them with their mission and their goals, so they want you to be successful, and they will help you to do that.
Excellent. That is very awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So great. So I hope that answered your question. The next question that came in was, let's start with the groundwork, and they were asking a question about their groundwork. Mm-hmm. Where do grant makers think they should start by applying for a grant?
In terms of groundwork, I always talk to my clients about being grant ready. Being grant ready is not just a fancy term. It's actually a process. Whether or not you have your nonprofit status for a nonprofit, whether or not you are up to date with your taxes, whether or not you have met all your federal and state obligations, whether or not you actually have goals and objectives for your project, whether or not you have measurable outcomes for your project. All of these things are the groundwork for submitting a proposal. If you don't have these things in order, your grant, your application will actually reflect it. When you start answering the questions that they put to you in the application, if you don't have that already laid out, your groundwork, your foundation for your organization, you won't be able to answer the questions that they have for you in a manner that is acceptable and worthy of being awarded.
Great. Awesome. The next question is that, but I don't have all those documents, nonprofit. How do I prepare in advance before I come see you?
Well, you can visit our website. You can visit my website, www.thechaplingroup.net, and I have some pointers and some tips. I have some things that you can download on the site that will allow you to get your organization to the level that it needs to be in order to be grant ready. You can also request our packet. We have a packet that we provide, and it's only for a fee of $25. It has everything that you need in that packet in order to get yourself grant ready. It actually has a mock application in it where you can fill out all the things that are in there. If you have filled out everything that's in that project, then your organization is ready for the grant. The only thing that you will need is someone like us, perhaps, to take a look at it, especially if you've never been awarded a grant before and you've never submitted a grant before. You want someone to look at it, someone who has written grants before, someone who has been successful in getting awards. You want to make sure that someone takes a look at it to critique it, to help you to tweak it and make it that perfect application so that you're submitting your best to the grantors for funding.
Excellent, because you definitely want to look real good when you present yourself to the foundation.
Absolutely.
The next question is, are big cities or small cities, or my little town where I'm at, Baltimore City, versus Pennsylvania, Georgia, Atlantic City, I'm just as eligible being small and the steamers of Baltimore or as the big cities.
Yeah. You know, there are grants out there that are specifically for small business owners. You know, a large corporation cannot get it. Your income for your company is less than $250,000 a year, and they will only award those grants to those folk. There are grants that you can get because a big city, a municipality has acquired a grant from, say for instance, Baltimore City, where we live. The state often gives out funds specifically to the city. They don't give them to organizations. They don't give them to companies. They give the monies to the city. But those monies are for the purposes of the city finding organizations and finding businesses and companies that qualify for the program and give those monies to them. So never feel that your organization is too small. There's no organization that's too small. An organization of one can actually get a grant process and get a grant awarded.
So let me understand and be kind of more specific. Baltimore City, a person that's applying for a grant here, and we know about the turmoil that happened in the past in
Yes.
Baltimore City.
Mm-hmm.
Does that have any effect on that grant person or recipient?
Well, it does have an effect, especially if you were affected by the turmoil that happened in Baltimore City. There are funds that the state has been awarding to the city for repairing damage, for getting your business back on its feet. There are a host of funding sources that you would qualify for if you are an organization in Baltimore City that was affected by the turmoil that we had in the city. It's a matter of just finding it and finding out, and whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit, there are different criteria for each of those, and you just have to take a look at what the criteria are for those particular grants, and then see where you fit in, and then make the application.
Excellent, excellent. Can you elaborate just a little bit on the nonprofit and the person for profit? That issue comes up a lot. Is it easier for me to get my paperwork for a nonprofit? If I'm for profit, does that knock me out of the ballpark altogether for receiving the grant?
No, it doesn't knock you out of the ballpark. But for-profit organizations, and let's face it, you are in the business to make a profit. That's why you're for-profit. And companies, organizations, foundations especially, foundations are very, very unlikely to give a for-profit organization funds.
Okay.
However, there are foundations that will offer for-profit organizations research money. There are things that some companies do that fall under the category of research, whether it's researching how well a particular product is received in the senior citizen community, whether or not the product that you're producing will increase the economy in the city in which you live. Those for-profit organizations, well, they do qualify for those funds. There are not a lot of them. There's a misconception that there are government grants to get your business up and running. I have still yet to see them. Mm-hmm. For-profits, nonprofits, on the other hand, there's a host of foundations that provide funds for nonprofit foundations. Is it any easier for you to get a grant than a for-profit? No, it's not any easier, because you still have to meet the same guidelines as a for-profit organization would have to reach. You still have to have your tax documents in order. You still have to have your company audited, your financial statements audited. You still have to have goals and objectives. You still have to have a board that governs your organization. All of those things are required by your organization as a nonprofit, just as they are required of a for-profit. So in terms of easiness, it's not any easier, but in terms of quantity of grants that are available, there are more available for nonprofit than there are for-profit.
Excellent, excellent. And I'd like to ask this one question, just in case the person is tuning in and listening. And the question that came in was specific about, if I apply for a grant for a specific purpose, could I also include a paycheck for myself and a salary for myself to live and be run by the organization and take care of all of my needs?
You can do that if the application allows it. You cannot, if there's an organization that's offering a grant and it says they will not pay for salaries, then no, you cannot take out salaries. However, there are grants that will pay for salaries. They will pay for the project director. They'll pay for the associate project director. They will pay for administrative support. So all of those things, all of those salary items are fundable. You just have to find the organization that will do that. Your project also has to be large enough. Sometimes you may get an award that will fund salary, but maybe it'll only fund 25% of an annual salary. It may not fund the entire salary. Most projects will only fund salary that's specific to the project in which they are funding. So if it means that you need to spend 40 hours a week in making sure that project is completed, then they will pay a full-time salary. However, if you only need 20 hours a week to make sure that the project works, then 20 hours a week is what they will pay. And they also require you to put in a timeline. They require you to give accountability of the hours that you are working on the project. A lot of times they will require you to fill out a time and effort report, which will show them how much time you are spending on each part of the project. And it will equate to the number of dollars that you receive for that time.
Excellent, excellent. And I hope that answered your question. The next question is that for the government grants, do we need a letter from an elective office to even have a chance or to qualify for a government grant?
No, absolutely not. Government grants are not, as a matter of fact, most of them make sure they don't even want you to be involved in any kind of political activity. A lot of them will have you, especially federal grants, they will ask you and have you to sign and complete a form that states that your grant will not be used for political purposes. A lot of foundation grants will do the same. They will have you sign a document stating that your monies for your project will not be used for supporting any kind of political campaign, any kind of political activity at all. The monies are to be used for the project in which you have applied for. The government never requires you to actually support any political campaign in order to get money.
Excellent, excellent. I believe we answered this one question, but since this question came in on last week with a person that was interested, and I do want to address this to you, is that what impact do disasters such as September 11th and the hurricane of Tridina, does that have a great impact on the grant makers or grant seekers?
It does. In those kinds of instances, the federal government will usually activate funds or make available funds for disaster relief through FEMA and organizations such as FEMA and the federal government. They will provide funds for businesses, homeowners. It's for cleanup. It's for getting you back on your feet. It's for helping you to get back to the lifestyle that you were living prior to the disaster. Funds that come in through the federal government is because the area has been declared a national disaster area, and those funds are specific to that area. Sometimes you will find foundations that will do the same. They will allocate funds for a specific disaster. You may have in the instance of Baltimore City, we've had several times, especially with the area recently in Ellicott City. A lot of the businesses were destroyed because of the flooding, and they declared it a disaster area, and people were locked out of the area. People could not go into their homes to retrieve the items that they found dear to themselves. You know, the government has provided funding in order for them to remedy their situations, to get back on their feet. Disasters, whenever there has been, an area has been declared disaster, you can always, I would say 99 times out of 10, you can always count on there being some kind of funding that's available to repair and to get back up on your feet.
Great, excellent. I hope that answered your question. Now, the last question that we have that came in, a person was interested in applying for the grant. But he said he knows that he's not good in accounting or bookkeeping. It's possible he may need a lawyer. Do we have people available, or is this going to cost them extra to incorporate these people while applying for the grant?
Well, it depends upon how extensive it is that we're talking. If you're talking about you have not filed taxes for your company in several years, or you're talking about just not being able to keep your books on a daily basis, those are two different things. If you have not been able to file your taxes, you need an accountant. We're grant writers. We can assist you in terms of creating budgets for your grants. We can even assist you in some areas in your day-to-day accounting functions. However, if we're talking about getting an audit for your organization to make sure, because a lot of grantors ask for your last audited statements. If you need someone to help you prepare your 990 IRS forms, those type of things, in all likelihood, you really need to get an accountant. And just because I said accountant, it does not necessarily mean that you're going to be spending hundreds and thousands of dollars getting an accountant. You can get an accountant that will actually help you for the one specific thing that you need to have done, and they will give you a specific fee for that item, and you can get it done. You don't necessarily have to contract an accountant for a long period of time. You may just need to get your 990s done. Most accountants will have a fee, one particular fee for getting that done. Like I said, our organization can help you to an extent. We can help you in getting those things together for your grant, making sure that you have the proper documentation, making sure that you have what we need in order to get your budget in place. A lot of times a grantor will ask you for your operating budget. We can help you with that. However, like I said, when you're talking about getting audited statements, when you're talking about getting your taxes filed, those things you definitely need an accountant for. Now, do you need a lawyer for all of that? No, you don't need a lawyer for your budget. We're talking funds, we're talking money. Lawyers do absolutely, completely different things. So taxes, audited statements, those type of things, get an accountant and get yourself a software program that'll help you to work with your day-to-day activities like QuickBooks. Something like that that's a very easy program to follow. You can, it allows you to print checks. It allows you to put in daily expenses, all of those types of things. Get yourself a regular accounting program to help you to do that. They're very easy to learn and better than just trying to run your business through an Excel spreadsheet.
Thank you so much. That was so valuable information, and thank you, the radio audience, for taking the time to call in and text and email me your questions. That let me know that you are very interested in applying for a grant. And just to close, you can reach us at New Perception Consulting Service. LLC is the website, and you can also call at 1-855-859-0051. And I'm going to let our grant specialist give her your information and close us out.
It's been a joy to work with you today, a joy to give you the information that you need. If you need to contact me, again, my name is Debrah Chaplin. I am CEO of the Chaplin Group. My email is chaplingroup, that's CHAPLIN group @outlook.com. My telephone number is 443-220-3531. Again, that's 443-220-3531. We're happy that you've joined us today. We hope that we have answered your questions. If you have further questions, please give us a call. If you want to get a copy of our packet that helps you with your grant writing, give us a call, visit the website, and we're very, very happy to help you.
Thank you so much. Until next time, this is New Perception Consulting Service and the Chaplin Group at Power of Purpose Radio.